Hello, Cancer, and welcome to your May 2025 Tarot card reading. Thank you all so much for being here. For those of you who are new, my name is Jane, so welcome to the channel. So let's go ahead and get started, Cancer, with an oracle card. What is it that you need to know for May 2025? And just so you know, Cancer, that as we're kind of going through this reading, if you feel at any point that you would like a little bit more personalization, I do offer private consults. So all that information on how to book that will be in the description box down below. So let's go ahead and see what comes through for you, Cancer, for May 2025. Okay, we have a card that says cycles. Which probably means that there is some kind of like ending and beginning of some sort. May not be this huge dramatic thing. All right, typically when we talk of cycles, it always is this big dramatic thing, but really we have cycles all the time. Every single day is a new cycle, you know, that kind of thing. But I do feel like maybe you are sensing that things are kind of turning over to some degree. And there may need to be, I'm looking, and this is Chronos, right? It's kind of like a Saturn energy. We have really powerful Saturn transit happening this month, which is where Saturn is moving into Aries. Okay, so he's crossing over your 10th house cusp. He's moving over the 29th degree of Pisces, moving into Aries, coming into this conjunction with Neptune. And it's a very destructive situation that we have going on. And I do feel like there are going to be massive closures. The reason why I say it's destructive, I don't want to, again, I'm not trying to be overly dramatic here, but Saturn is coming over a fixed star called Sheet at the 29th degree of Pisces in Western tropical astrology, okay? And Sheet has a lot of very destructive qualities to it. Saturn being our structure, being kind of how, like the rules and the law that we live by. It does seem like there's kind of an essence of things really falling apart, okay? And when things start to fall apart, the old rule book has to kind of fly out the window and we have to start rapidly writing new rules. And it might just be new habits that you have to establish for yourself. It might be that some of you are feeling the pressure of a new job or pressure of a new lifestyle that you're really wanting to create. And you're feeling that kind of just generally the pressure of making it happen. And in some ways with Chronos, with these cycles, with Saturn, sometimes we are kind of forced to do things, and there are things that push us, right? Because sometimes we can kind of exert our will into the world, but sometimes the world exerts its will into our world, into our lives. And I think right now there's a lot from the outside coming in, and you're going to have to kind of contend with that. And this means you're going to have to kind of put forth a little extra effort for your goals, a little extra effort for the things that you're trying to accomplish, so that you ensure that things stay on track. Okay, so I do think you're going to have to be strong this month, and I think you're going to have to kind of like step up and kind of hold yourself to the fire a little bit and really make sure that you're not just kind of laying back and letting the world kind of walk over you or anything like that, right? You're going to have to be very bold. You're going to have to be assertive. You're going to have to speak your mind. You're going to have to demand that things get done. And you're going to have to push back a little bit, okay? And we have this card that says claim your independence with the cat spirit. So, I mean, there's not a lot that anyone can really do to help you with this. I think this is kind of just on your plate. But that's the thing, right? In May, we start off in Taurus season. So Taurus is deeply connected with this idea of self-reliance. So we kind of have to be like, well, no one's going to do it for us. No one is going to come in and be our knight in shining armor and do all the work for us. And, you know, like, no, this has to come from us. And with the world, there does seem to be pressure because it's Chronos, it's Saturn. Okay, so there does seem to be pressure. And because he's transiting in such a prominent part of your chart, means that there may be added responsibility, right? Maybe now there's dependents or people that depend on you. Now maybe there's kind of something going on in public where people can see you. Maybe your reputation is on the line a little bit. And so, again, all this kind of outside stuff coming in says you have to perform, you have to show up, you have to create, you have to make this happen. But it's a good thing because you are initiating a new cycle. So usually when we are kind of in this transition period, it can get a little compressed. I think, yes, there is going to be a feeling of compression, but I think in your heart of hearts, you know it's time. And it might be something that you've been kind of putting off anyway. And so now it's like, well, I don't really have an excuse anyway, so let's just do it now, I guess, you know? And I love that we get the World card because that really reaffirms that message of cycles. I mean, it's very clear, very obvious that like some aspect of your life is completely done and gone and over with. And that there's really not anything to fight. You really don't have to fight anything. You don't have to fight anyone. I really like the Ace of Swords because it speaks to clarity. And I think it also speaks to purity of heart as well. It speaks to bravery, which is not necessarily something we talk about every day. I think sometimes when we talk about bravery, like we think we have to go do these big, massive things, but I think there's a lot of bravery in pushing back against the adversarial energies in our life, you know. And I see that. I see that, you know, no matter what you're confronted with, Cancer, you are showing up on the front lines. I mean, I don't think we give enough credit to Cancer for their warrior-like qualities. Yes, you may be ruled by the moon, and yes, you may be associated with things like nurturing and sensitivity and intuition and emotion, but you have Aries on the 10th house. I mean, from a public view, like when people look at you, they will see you as Aries. They will see you as a warrior. They will see you as a fighter, as an initiator, as a go-getter, as someone who has power and passion. And you may not see yourself that way all the time, but I think this is a part of you that is very real. And I think this is a part of you that you're tapping into right now because you don't have a choice, because you have to. You have to be someone who takes accountability and responsibility for their life and their life choices. But see, there are incredible results. Like very sweet, beautiful, like I'm feeling like the land of milk and honey kind of energy here, right? There's like a paradise, there's something beautiful and wonderful kind of on the other side. And I don't think it's nearly as far off as you think. It's possible you think this is really far away. I don't think it is. I think it's actually very well in hand. I mean, it's literally the first row. So, I mean, now the Ace of Cups, it's just an ace, okay? So the thing with aces is that they're usually potentials, and we have to really invest and nurture in those potentials in order for them to grow and blossom and develop into something, you know, material and real. But because this is an Ace of Cups, it's more in the heart, right? So I think there's an element of gratitude and satisfaction and appreciation that's really coming through here. And so it's like the more you push and the more you allow yourself to be challenged, I think the more satisfied you'll be. It's the Cancerians who run away from the challenge, who run away from the pressure. For some reason, the word pressure is coming through so loud. So it's the ones that run away from the pressure that are going to really struggle. But maybe this is like kind of, you know, coal turning into a diamond kind of thing. Instead of letting the pressure force you to crumble, you kind of gather yourself and kind of make yourself, reinforce yourself and make yourself stronger. And I think there's a significant degree of happiness with that. Okay. What else, Cancer? What else do you need to know here? Where is this going? Okay. A couple things actually. So, first of all, beginning of May, we have Pluto retrograde. Okay, so Pluto retrogrades on the 4th. And usually when Pluto retrogrades, this is usually the time when the evolution really begins, the Plutonic evolution for the year. Okay, so there's a lot of progress that usually happens while Pluto is retrograde because we're not necessarily feeling that resistance against the evolution. Okay. Another thing is that the sun is going to be building up to its conjunction with Uranus, okay, which is in Taurus. And I think this coincides with that particular transit because it's highly electric. All right. In Uranus, as we know, there's a lot of volatility, a lot of unpredictability. I'm really happy this Ace of Cups came out first before all of this because I think this is going to sustain you through a lot. Now, I don't think this is bad. Usually with the Tower, I often feel it's the Wheel of Fortune in disguise, right? Something wonderful is actually happening. But in order for that wonderful thing to happen and to come to fruition, we absolutely have to tear down certain structures in our lives. This is what Saturn with Sheet and Saturn with Neptune, this is what it's all about. This is the whole point. This is the whole point of 2025, is to eliminate this obsolete, clunky, heavy, outdated kind of way of being. And there's so much regarding our identity that's going on because Saturn and Neptune will actually be coming conjunct in Aries, which has a lot to do with our identities. So who we thought we were and the person that we built ourselves in our head up to be, it's just changing. It's really just changing. It really is the end of an era. Like for example, the last time we had this particular conjunction, I think it was in Libra, if I could be misremembering that. I don't remember exactly which zodiac sign it was in, but it was in 1989, and it coincided with the tearing down of the Berlin Wall, right? So that was like a significant era of time. And all of a sudden the rules changed, right? The boundaries changed. The whole identity of Europe changed. So it's a meaningful moment for us as individuals. And I don't know, we get to kind of begin again. We get to kind of begin and refresh. But again, there's a lot of responsibility with that, right? Because it's like, okay, well, this person that you thought you were has to go, and now you're left with a completely blank slate. But you've already built yourself up before. Now you have to build yourself up again, but you don't want to build yourself up into the same thing because that is going to just create all the same things. And so now you have to go a little bit bigger and bolder. And with the Seven of Swords, I think, again, you know that. And that's the scary thing, is that you actually have to do it this time. Because that outside pressure is really forcing you to. I hate to say it, but I really don't think you have a choice, but it's like you also don't really have a choice either. Because you can't reach up and stop the stars. They're going to do what they're going to do. And I think there is a little bit of, like kind of wanting to run away from that, right? Clearly he's like running away in the opposite direction. But what's funny is that he's kind of running smack dab into the claim your independence card. So I think that this Seven of Swords, I know this is a weird image and I don't know why this came to my mind, but I just kind of feel him like ricocheting back and forth between the Tower and the independent. Like he's not going to be able to escape what is happening around him. Okay, he is locked in. So you can try to run away, you can try to hide, you can try to be in denial, you can try to forget, you can try to do, but it's you cannot. And I do think Cancer is going to go through kind of a pull away or a very detached phase when the realization hits that like things are different now. I mean, these two cards together, stacked on top of one another, it's an extremely potent combination of cards. This is the very end of the major arcana, signifying totally the end of a cycle, right? Cycles. And this is a massive jolt or a massive change that is, I mean, this is usually pretty fast. Sometimes this can come through as just a realization. Sometimes there is some kind of external thing that happens, like a market crash or something like that. But whatever the case is, it's a catalyst. And I always say it's a wheel of fortune in disguise because you'll know it's a good thing when it happens, but it's like the initial aftermath, the initial haze, the initial confusion and chaos can be very jarring. But again, this is you kind of taking a step back and saying, let me not get too invested in that chaos, and let me not identify too heavily with that chaos either. Because it's also very possible that people go through the tower and they start saying, oh, well, my life is total crap because of these reasons. The world is against me, God is against me, you know, whatever. People get very angry about this kind of thing. They don't take ownership of this. So Cancer, this is you, I think, taking ownership simply by stepping out and observing and watching and not letting the chaos get to you, not letting the emotional manipulation get to you, not letting the news, not letting other people's opinions, not letting the mass mind that is out there get to you. This is you maintaining and asserting your independence here. Because I do think there's going to be something going on with the world, and you're going to have to stay focused on your own business. Okay, you're going to have to stay focused on what you're doing and how you're developing. And while the pressure is important, so that external pressure coming in, it's important, but it's not important in terms of like, oh, the adversarial energy is right, or all these people's opinions about me are right. It's who you become in response to those things. Okay? So I see growth. I see you taking your time, zooming out, breathing, connecting with nature, and just kind of regrouping a little bit in the phase of the tower. Because again, we still have this Ace of Cups, which feels like you know intuitively that you're on this right track. You have the intuition, you have the gratitude, you have the appreciation, and I don't think you're going to really let that go. Okay? So let's see what else comes through for you. We have the last row. I like Judgment a lot for the clarity. I do see you, Cancer, as being a steward of truth. And I think it is because of your ability to stay unattached in this moment. And I don't know, maybe the pressure is so great that you just kind of have to float up a little bit. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I really don't. I feel like that you're positioned in such a way that like once Gemini season comes in. Now this is actually when Saturn moves into Aries around this time. Okay. This I think has a lot more to do with the sun coming into that conjunction with Uranus. But don't forget that yes, Saturn on sheet, Saturn with the Neptune buildup, Saturn at the last degrees of Pisces, like there's a lot of confluence going on, okay? We also have this powerful full moon in Scorpio as well, so that also really speaks to kind of like the transformational energy that's at play too. But I do kind of see you kind of coming up out of this darkness, coming up out of the confusion, out of the cloudiness, out of the haze, and really having, again, I talk about zooming out. I think that's really, really important come Gemini season. That ability to zoom out and see everything from a very high level perspective. That is going to be your saving grace, because it's the people that only focus on just a teeny tiny little thing that's going on. They get emotionally manipulated. They get, they're impacted by what everyone else is doing, and they're not thinking for themselves. You have to be able to think for yourself this month. So probably best just to mind your own business as much as you possibly can, because I think you, like I say, I feel like you're supposed to be a steward of truth, and I don't know why that particular message is coming through, but it's like you need to be the voice of reason. You need to be the grounding force. You need to be the one that is able to speak practically when other people are not in their right mind. Because I actually don't think this is you. I really don't. I don't think this Nine of Swords is yours. I mean, I think it could be if you don't handle the Tower very well. It could be. And there could be a lot of stress or strain regarding the fear of the future or whatever. But for some reason, I kind of feel like you're more aligned here with this. You've got the Ace of Swords. I see you being pretty solid and really straight. And I see you having that alignment with truth and God and the higher divine knowledge. Where this feels extremely reactive. And again, I think you had your reactive moment here with like, okay, well, it's like you can't get away. This I actually think is a favor that the universe is doing for you. I know this feels like a little bit like, yeah, I know you want to get away, but you can't. Like the fact that it's holding you to the fire like this, the fact that it's saying Cancer, no, you have to continue, you have to power through. This is going to make you kind of cool your jets a little bit, because you're like, all right, I can't escape. So I have to think clearly, because I have to figure out what to do here in the face of this change. Who do I become? How do I speak? How do I go about this solution? Whatever. So it does go into a really logical mind. Okay. This to me does not feel logical at all. In fact, it feels incredibly irrational, because this one is pointing that direction. This one is pointing this direction. This one is making impulsive, rash decisions rooted in deep anxiety, fear, maybe depression, stress, whatever. This is not the best place to be making decisions. But see, people like this, these chaotic people, are going to be running to the voice of truth, which is you, because you were forced to be in truth because you were not able to get away from it. You may have tried, but you very quickly realized you cannot. So people are going to feel that, they're going to know that, they're going to sense it, and they're going to say, Cancer, like, I need your opinion, I need your voice, I need your perspective. And I think you're going to be able to really offer that to people and help them calm themselves down here. Okay, there might be something global going on, there may be something political or economic going on. We're not sure yet. But I do think, Cancer, that you are playing that role of containment here, and that this is your opportunity to really help to contain, because this can get unruly. But people seem to be coming to you to help, for you to help them come up out of their darkness, to come up out of their Nine of Swords. And I do think you can be an illuminating force. And maybe right now you are acting a little bit as a vessel or a guiding light. Now that may not really look like anything particular other than just offering your opinion or offering your insight into something. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe that's all it needs to be. But I do think your role in whatever is going to happen is very, very important. Okay, so let's pull out the clarifiers. This is a really strange, like I was definitely not expecting this reading for you, Cancer. But let's go ahead and see. You know what, actually, I just realized you also have that North Node in your ninth house as well, in Pisces, which makes sense that you would be kind of this, I don't know, leader toward expansion right now. That kind of actually does make sense. So yeah, let's go ahead and pull the clarifiers. All right, so for those of you who are new here, I'm going to pull out a whole bunch of new cards, and these cards are going to, we'll talk about in the comprehensive reading. We're going to talk for another 25 to 30 minutes about all of them. We're going to really open these up, really kind of get a deeper message here. So again, if you want to join, all the info is down below. So let's see what comes through here for you, Cancer. What do you need to know? We start off with the Star. Another Ace of Swords. Since we got a duplicate, I'm going to pull out two more here. Hermit and Ten of Cups. And then for the World, we have the Hanged Man, the Moon, a lot of major arcana there, and Strength. Lots of major arcana, all majors. It's a big World card. We have a Page of Wands, Two of Wands, and another Page. Okay, I like the pages a lot. They're certainly humble in their own right. Okay, so now we have that Knight of Coins, Nine of Cups, and the Seven of Cups. Knight of Wands, King of Coins, King of Swords. Now for the Nine of Wands, another Knight of Swords. Oh, interesting. Knight of Swords with the Judgment, and that's a combination down here as well. So there's definitely a link there, no doubt about it. Justice, the Sun, and the Four of Coins, King of Cups, Nine of Coins, and Ten of Coins. Okay. For the Nine of Swords, Two of Swords, King of Wands, and Ten of Wands. All right, Cancer. So again, this is where we're going to pick up. So we're going to talk for another 25 to 30 minutes. So if you want to join, you are more than welcome. Thank you so much, Cancer. You know, I love and adore you. I hope you have an amazing May, and I'll talk to you soon.